And we are live. Sunday Service, episode number 8. We don't have a UFC card to recap, but we did have a marquee matchup in the boxing scene last night. Absolute shocker. Ryan Garcia getting it done. I don't know how. Well, I know how. We watched it after the fact. I didn't actually get to watch it live. I'll tell that story later. But we're going to go over that, of course, because that was the biggest news in combat sports. That Ryan Garcia somehow pulled off the upset over the minus 1,000 favorite Devin Haney. And here we are, sitting the day after, asking ourselves, did Ryan Garcia do this all just for show and to get in the head of Devin Haney? Probably. We'll talk about that. A couple news or fight announcements in the UFC. Jamahal Hill taking a fight against Khalil Roundtree, UFC 303. That's pretty interesting considering, 7-8 days ago he got knocked out. And he's already booking a fight against a guy like Khalil Roundtree. Very interesting. We'll talk about that. Bo Nickel got a fight as well. Somewhat, I guess. Jacob Malkoon put on his Instagram that that's the fight that they're looking at for UFC 303 as well. Interesting fight for Bo. We got to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about the Dana White diss video because this is on YouTube. And a lot of the people that he was dissing are MMA YouTubers. So we got to talk about that. It was pretty funny to see. We're absolutely going to be talking about that. And then I've got some Q&As from the Instagram story. Some questions I put out there to ask me questions on the Instagram story. We'll read through some of those. And then, of course, answering your chats here on the YouTube and on the Instagram Live. Appreciate y'all for joining. This is Sunday Service. It's a little tough not having a UFC card to talk about. But thankfully, last night we had a boxing event, and honestly, nobody really watches these boxing events, it seems like. But you had to tune in last night to watch Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney. Not me, though. I'll be honest. I fell asleep last night. I was not watching it live. And I woke up this morning thinking, you know what, I'll probably just see Devin Haney wins a decision or Devin Haney wins or whatever. No! Ryan Garcia wins a majority decision? That was probably the last thing I would have put out there, seeing Ryan Garcia winning a decision. I thought if he won, he'd probably knock him out, clip him with something. Not the case. Ryan Garcia got it done. So I had to go back and watch the fight this morning. I don't know what people were like initially saying about it. I heard there was like some hugging. A lot of hugging going on. I saw Sean O'Malley's video of Ryan Garcia like turning away. So I had all this stuff going into the fight before I watched it. Of course, I knew that Garcia won. I went back and watched it. It looked like to me, Ryan Garcia fought like a cokehead. Like he did. Ryan Garcia fought like a cokehead, and it worked out. And I don't know if it was just the facade he was putting on before the fight that he's like, all right, I'm going to go in there and actually fight like a cokehead. But he did that, and it worked out. Round 1, he comes out blitzing, hits him with some good shots. Then it kind of turns into a Devin Haney fight where he's just jabbing, pillow-handed jabbing, throwing a couple 1-2s. Garcia's like shelling up really weird. Then round 7, knocks him down. Haney battles back. I think it was round 10 and 11. He knocked him down in the same it's kind of the same way. Left hook. Like if you look at Ryan Garcia, what does Ryan Garcia have? He's got a left hook. If you can't avoid the left hook, you're probably going to be in some trouble. Devin Haney could not avoid that left hook. And it looked like there was nothing that Haney had for Ryan Garcia that really made him scared. And I think that was the problem. It's like Haney's a solid boxer, but he hasn't had a KO victory in 5 years? Ryan's like, I don't really care about his power. I'm going to be throwing these freaking hooks and get him hurt with those. I honestly think the Ryan Garcia meltdown type thing was planned. If you think about it, Ryan Garcia before this fight was never that way. And it kind of makes sense that he would just go after like I don't want to say he's like trying to put himself down, but I think he tried to like downplay himself going into this fight. Like, look at me. I'm going fucking crazy. I'm on all these types of drugs. I'm drinking a week before my fight. I'm out partying a week before my fight. And the fact that he missed weight, I think that was planned. I think he planned on missing weight. You miss weight by 3 pounds, and he's like, I'll pay the $1.5 million to miss these 3 pounds just so that he thinks, just to like solidify it a little more, that he thinks I'm not prepared for this fight. He pays it, and then he chugs a beer on the stand. There's no way Devin Haney went into that fight thinking that Ryan Garcia is at 100%. There's no way. He went into that fight thinking Ryan Garcia is underprepared. I'm going to do this guy as easy as anybody that I've faced, even though he's faced him multiple times before. Ryan Garcia was just promoting the fight like I'm this junkie, drug-using, drinker boxer that's going to go in there, and I'm just going to see what happens. But actually, if you look at like his Instagram, I was looking at his Instagram on like Friday. It's a lot of just like training videos, just like random training videos. I'm like starting to think to myself, I feel like he's putting a little too much out there. And considering the line was minus 1,000 on Devin Haney, I'm like, Ryan Garcia is not that bad of a boxer. Like, he shouldn't be this big of an underdog. Ultimately, I didn't place a bet on either Devin Haney nor Ryan Garcia. Because I'm like, I kind of want to take a shot on Ryan Garcia, but I can't in good faith put my money on a guy that might be absolutely off the rails. So I went with the fight to not go to a decision, or fight to not go the distance. Because I'm like, if Ryan wins, he probably knocks him out. If Haney wins, it's probably because Ryan's not prepared and he probably finishes him. So that shit did not hit. But I also took Haney lower on total punches, which did hit. So those are the only 2 bets I had on this fight. One of them hit, and one of them did not. But Ryan Garcia is that big of a dog? I'm like, it's very hard to look at that line and think Ryan's promotional material of him being a cokehead isn't factored into the line. That's why I wasn't really about the Devin Haney line. And I thought Devin Haney by KO seems like one of the squarest plays. Like, okay, this guy's unprepared. He's just going to go in there and get knocked out. That was a big trap. Big trap. Big trap. Ryan's promoting was almost more impressive than his performance. Bro, honestly, I think Ryan Garcia saved boxing with that shit. He saved boxing. Because if that's just a regular Devin Haney fight, not watching it. If that's a regular Ryan Garcia fight, not watching it. The only reason people tuned in is because Ryan Garcia looked like he was off the rails. And that's how you promote a fight. That's one thing that like a lot of boxers and a lot of UFC guys don't even know. Or at least they're not willing to put that in, put that effort in. They're like, you're watching this because this guy's going mental. Doesn't matter what kind of boxing skills he has. Doesn't matter who his opponent is. You're watching it because this guy seems to have gone mental. And he pulled it off beautifully. Because to this day, this is Sunday after the fight, I still don't know if the guy was messing with us or not. Or if he just went out there. He's actually all on this coke train. And he just went out there and had the performance of his life. His John Jones performance. I don't even know. Like, he could come out next time, do the same thing, get another win, and I'm just like, is he still putting on this act that he's this guy that's going off the rails? Or is that just him and he's still winning? I don't know. Shit was impressive, though. Part of me feels like he's faking it. Like he's faking this psychotic stuff. And he was actually just preparing well, putting on this showman's type of psychotic breakdown to get into the head of Devin Haney to be like, I'm not taking you serious whatsoever. You'll probably beat me, whatever. I don't care. And then he goes out there and wins. You feel like the 3 pounds 3 pounds played a huge factor. Ryan is naturally bigger than Haney. I agree. That was a massive factor. The 3-pound weight miss, I think, is a huge factor. But the way that Ryan Garcia played it, it makes it to the point where nobody's really going to talk about it. They're not really going to talk about it. Like, he missed weight by 3 pounds. Why? Because he was underprepared. That's like the way that he made it out to be. But he said it himself. He didn't want to be drained like the Tank Davis fight. So if you miss weight by a few pounds, you throw him some money, and then you go out there with a little advantage, a little power advantage, maybe a cardio advantage, maybe a durability advantage, and you put it on the guy, you win the fight. Nobody's going to care, or nobody's going to really hold you to it that you missed those 3 pounds. I think that was part of the plan, to miss weight. I really do. And I thought Devin Haney did fight pretty dumb. He really just gave Ryan Garcia the left hook. Never really put it on him. Never really had Ryan Garcia in danger. Kind of just stood there and took it. And as I was watching the fight, I thought the ref's bias toward Devin Haney was kind of insane. Like, that ref was giving Devin Haney countless times to recover, just giving him more time than not. Like, Devin Haney was shooting for double legs, bro. He was getting hit, shooting for double legs, clinching. And when Ryan had him hurt or he was in the clinch doing good work, he would break him up. I thought that ref was terrible. It was hilarious when Haney was pleading to the ref that Ryan was the one hugging him. Bro, Devin Haney was the one engaging all the clinches, really. Because at range, Ryan Garcia has much more power. Inside, it looked like Devin Haney was just trying to lean on him so he wasn't getting hit with big hooks. Like, Haney did not look good whatsoever. Yeah, Devin was dead ass like shooting double legs. Like, the ref's got to do something about that. He didn't really do anything. He was kind of just letting Devin recover after he broke it up. He was like waiting for Devin to like get everything back in his head so he could start fighting, and it just never worked out. Ryan's defense is not good either. He was sloppy combinations. Yeah, no, that's what I agree. Like, Ryan fights kind of sloppy. Like, it's left hook, big shots, and that's why I was big on Tank Davis when he went against Ryan Garcia. I'm like, Tank's going to make him pay. Tank's got some of the greatest counters, most explosive counters in the boxing game. So I was on Tank at that fight. And Tank showed how you beat Ryan Garcia. Devin Haney just, I don't even know if he has the tools to be like a Tank Davis where he can slip under the left hook, bang, counter. I don't think he could do that. Wild. Haney got a weak chin. His legs go every time. Dude, I forget which knockdown it was, but he fell. I think it might have been the first one. 7th or 10th round. He fell on his butt. Haney looked like a frail old man in there. Like, Ryan Garcia looked big, like big weight class above him. And when he was dropping Devin Haney looked frail. He looked like that chin. And that was a big thing I saw in the Haney versus Lomachenko fight. It's like, this guy does not like to get hit. Like, Lomachenko would hit him with a good couple shots, kind of shell up. He's not a guy that wants to get in the pocket with you and kind of trade. Like, that's not where he does well. He's a jab merchant, uses his movement, kind of uses his speed, just like a normal type of boxer. Garcia's not that. He's going to throw big hooks. So it was wild. It was wild. Crazy to see this and the difference in hydration clause versus Tank. That was a huge thing, too, in the Tank versus Garcia fight. The hydration clause did play a big factor because you look at Garcia side by side between last night and him against Tank, he looks way bigger, way bigger. And that's another reason why I think the weight miss was kind of planned, or at least he's like, I'll afford a $1.5 million fine if I get 3 more pounds and I'm fresher, I'm faster, I'm more powerful, I'm bigger. I think that was planned. That I'll stand on that hill, I'll die on it. Ryan Garcia missed weight on purpose, whether it was just to double down on the fact that he's unprepared or that he wanted to gain an advantage during the fight. Definitely played a big factor, I would say. Loma kills all these guys, shaking my head. They don't want to push those fights, though. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, if boxing's going to go down the route of, like, the Ryan Garcia, I think Ryan Garcia is great for boxing because they need people to tune in that want to see this guy that's off the rails fight. Like a Devin Haney versus Lomachenko fight, not nearly the hype that Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia did. Not a chance. Both good fights, but Ryan Garcia just makes all the headlines because he's a wild guy. That's what boxing needs. That's what fighters should be all about nowadays. Like, that's how you make your bread. That's how you make your bread. You be controversial, you do wild stuff, and you go in there and you deliver with a great performance. That's what Ryan Garcia did. That's what more boxers need to do. That's what more fighters need to do. Just be wild, be crazy, be entertaining, be controversial, and your stock is going to rise. It's just going to keep rising. Even if Garcia lost, his stock's still up there. His stock is still up there as far as attention. It's an attention economy. If you want people to tune in to watch your fights, you got to get their attention. That's 100% what Garcia did. Bro, Ryan Garcia made Conor look normal. This is giving some steam going into the fight for Conor. All right? Just because you're off, if you're a cokehead for your training camp, doesn't mean you're going to lose. Conor's been indulging in that for the past year or so, or more than 2 years. And going up against Michael Chandler's kind of like a Devin Haney, like guy that does everything right, lives and breathes the sport, true professional. Going up against Conor, likes to indulge, likes to get the attention. Score one for the cokeheads for Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney. Maybe score two for Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. We never know. We never know. I mean, that fight's actually coming up pretty fast. I mean, it's what, 2 months away? 2 months away. I guess we can transition to the fight that got announced this past week that will be on the UFC 303 card in June. Jamahal Hill taking the fight against Khalil Roundtree. 2.5 months after getting knocked unconscious by Alex Pereira. Is this a bad move or a good move? I would probably say at this point in time, not the smartest move. Not the smartest move, because Jamal just got KO'd, and he's taking on a guy in Khalil that hits very hard. I don't know what his rush is. I would understand he was off for a year, a little over a year when he fought Pereira. Loses in the first round. He probably wants to get back out there and right his wrongs really quickly. But he's taking on a guy in Khalil that hits very, very hard. And Jamal, based on your ability to not get hit with big punches against a guy like Pereira, seems a little risky. A little bit risky. Right now, I would say it's a mistake. But he could easily go out there in June and put on a nice performance and win. So it's not like he's already lost the fight. I think he's probably a better overall fighter than Khalil. But the fact that he's taking this, on 2.5 months after he just got knocked out adds in the factor that, like, Khalil last fight was last fall? He's been preparing well. He's been looking for this opportunity. He's going to get it. And I'm still pissed that Jamal versus Yuri's not happening. I really wanted to see Jamal versus Yuri. I guess Jamal versus Khalil isn't the fight that I was expecting. But, man, it was a shock to see that. Like 6 days after you just got knocked out, he takes a fight against Khalil Roundtree. I will say this. Just because you got knocked out doesn't mean your next fight you're going to get knocked out. Because, like, Alex Pereira got knocked unconscious to Israel Adesanya, And then 3.5 months later, he fought Jan Blachowicz. And he won that fight. Didn't show any signs of chinniness. Granted, it was up a weight class, so I guess he didn't have to cut that weight all the way down once again. But he got knocked unconscious, like out cold to Israel Adesanya. And then the next fight, you're fighting a guy in Jan Blachowicz who's known for this Polish power. And it looked like a sketchy matchup, but he got it done. 3 rounds, he got it done. And I also want to talk, did we overestimate Jamahal Hill? Because one thing I noted when I was looking at the fight between Jamahal Hill and Alex Pereira, let me just pull it up. I think Jamahal Hill is a really good fighter, but I almost think just because he was light heavyweight champion at a time, we overestimate him. Because you look at the guys that he beat to become a UFC champion, Johnny Walker, Thiago Santos, and then a 43-year-old Glover Teixeira, who retired after. And now you're a UFC champion. And if you actually look at his total wins, he has 12 total wins. 7 of them come by knockout. 5 of them are by decision. So that kind of makes you question his knockout power. 5 wins by decision at light heavyweight. 5 wins. So 5 wins by decision, 7 by knockout. The guys that he's knocking out are Johnny Walker, chinny. Jimmy Crute, chinny. Took him 4 rounds to put out Thiago Santos. And he went to a decision with Glover Teixeira. A 42-year-old Glover Teixeira. Now, he beat his ass for 5 rounds. But still went to a decision. So it does kind of make me question what his knockout power is really like. Because Pereira wasn't scared of it. And I don't think Khalil Roundtree is going to be scared of it. So I think Khalil could probably go in there, unleash some bombs on him, knowing that this guy just got knocked out. I think Khalil's got a good chance. So I'll say that. I would expect Jamahal Hill to be a favorite, though. So if Khalil's at plus money, might be the move. Might be the move. Another fight that got announced, well, not officially announced, but there's talks of it being announced. Jacob Malkoun put on his Instagram that he's going to be fighting Bo Nickel, I believe, at UFC 303 as well. I think that's a perfect matchup for Bo. That's a good matchup for him. I think Jacob Malkoun is criminally underrated. So I might be giving him a little more leeway as far as the competition level that he's facing. I think Malkoun's pretty good. He's a very good wrestler. Decent on the feet. He's not a guy that has powerful shots on the feet. But he's a good wrestler. And if he can somewhat control Bo Nickel's wrestling, if it's on the feet, then we get to see a little bit more from Bo. If he can't take this guy down, or if this guy takes him down, how does he react to that? I think Malkoun could give him some problems in the wrestling, because MMA wrestling is completely different than college wrestling. If you're just a great college wrestler, we've seen so many guys that are great college wrestlers, they get into the cage with a guy that knows MMA wrestling, they can't take him down, or they can't control him, or they can't do any damage with it. We just saw it last week in the PFL. Bubba Jenkins, I think he was a Division I All-American wrestler. He goes in the cage with Kai Kamaka. Can't get the guy down, and if he does get the guy down, he can't control him. So if you're fighting a guy like a Jacob Malkoun who has really good MMA wrestling, I think that's a tough matchup for Bo. I'm surprised, or I'm interested to see what the odds are going to be. Because I don't know, I might bet Jacob Malkoun. I love Bo Nickel, but, bro, Bo Nickel is still untested. Malkoun has, 6, 7 UFC fights. Went to a pretty close decision against Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen's top 7 in the UFC right now. I think Malkoun might be live. I will say this, though. On the feet, I think Bo is going to have a power edge. Because Bo hits pretty damn hard, and he really commits to his strikes. Like, if he's going to throw, he's going to throw hard. Jacob Malkoun, not really like that. He's a guy that usually just runs his pace throughout the fight. Like, he's going to stand there, strike with you, get in on the takedown, and then just chain wrestle from there. So on the feet, I think Bo's got a good chance of knocking him out. But on the ground, I think Malkoun could do some good work there as well, or at least defend against some of the attacks from Bo Nickel. What do you guys think about the Bo Nickel Malkoun fight? Because I think Malkoun might be live. Kobe O'Brien says Hill via decision. Talk about Roundtree versus Jamahal Hill. I could see that. Just like we were talking about, Jamahal Hill 5 wins by decision. Jamahal by decision would be probably pretty juicy. They're probably expecting that fight to not last very long. But that is still 2 months away, so we can't really get any props or anything like that. Last thing we'll talk about before we get into the Q&A. Dana White coming at all the media members. Now, I know Dana's a guy that loves to rub it in people's face. I mean, I loved it. I love that he does this, where if people are going to talk shit about him, he's going to clap back. But it was pretty interesting. So he put out the video basically saying, all the fighters in UFC 300, we said this was going to be the best card ever, da-da-da. Here's what the media thought about you. And then he went to guys like Brendan Schaub saying UFC 300 was terrible, and Ariel Helwani saying that UFC 300 was thrown together or something like that. Basically, just everybody that Dana has beef with, he like threw it on there. This was funny. I thought it was a little bit misconstrued though, because I was on like both ways. So like right when UFC 300 got announced, like the first few fights was Aljo versus Cater, Yuri versus Rakic, and Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. Those were the first 3 fights announced on UFC 300. And I remember making the video, I'm like, these are some damn good fights. I can't wait to see what else Dana White cooks up. Like, we're in for a treat. UFC 300 is going to be crazy. Then they keep adding fights. They add Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje, which I was like, a weird fight to put together, but I like it. And then they added like a couple women's MMA fights like Kayla Harrison, Holly Holm, Jessica Andrade, Marina Rodriguez. And that's when there was no main event still. And the MMA YouTubers or MMA media was like, what the hell is going on? This was supposed to be like one of the biggest fights, biggest fight cards ever. UFC 300 is going to be crazy. Like Dana White said it's going to blow your socks off. And then you're adding like these weird MMA fights, weird women's MMA fights. And the co-main event is Yan Xiaonan versus Zhang Weili. And we're like, huh? We still don't have a main event. Like, where is this going, Dana? And then there was talks of Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. And we're like, please don't do that, Dana. Bilal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards at UFC 300. Please don't do that. They don't do that, thankfully. And then they announced the main event for UFC 300, and everybody's expecting something that's going to blow your socks off, like Khabib versus GSP, or Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier, or Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor, or Conor McGregor versus Khabib. Something insane that you would never think of. But it comes out that it's Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill. And everybody's like, okay, cool. Sick fight. I think it's a dope fight, but not really what we were expecting. Like, we were expecting something way bigger. And I think that's valid. Like, if you're one of the guys that were on that little clip, if you're one of the podcasters or YouTubers or whatever that was on the clip saying that UFC 300 was not as good as we were kind of promised it was going to be, I don't think you're wrong. Like, I think UFC 300, for the card that it was, insane. The fights that happened on UFC 300 were unbelievable. But what we were promised like a month or two before was like something that we wouldn't even be able to comprehend. But we got Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill. And we're all, us fight fans, we're like, yeah, okay, sick fight. I like it. It's a good fight. But this is UFC 300. We're supposed to get like some type of legends coming out of retirement fight or something that we wouldn't see normally. You know, like Jamahal Hill versus Alex Pereira probably could have happened on any card. But UFC 300 wasn't exactly like living it up to what we were expecting. Now, what happened in the fight was sick. The main event was sick. Like Alex Pereira's moment where he's like, hold on, Herb, bang, left hook, knocks him out. That's sick. Max Holloway, round 5, KO with 1 second left on the buzzer, bang. That's sick. The card overperformed as far as how the fights went. Like the fights were insane. The matchups were solid. From the top up, the prelims were insane. I mean, that stack of prelims are nuts. Like you're getting Cody versus Figgy, first fight of the night. Like that's insane. That part is insane. I think people were just a little disappointed in like the main event when it was announced. And I think it also has to do with the point in time when the main event was announced. Let's not forget that. Okay? Dana White announced the main event for UFC 300 minutes after Volkanovski just got knocked out against Ilia Topuria. Volkanovski is your longest reigning champion, the guy that everybody loves. He just gets knocked unconscious. And then like 5 to 10 minutes later, you go live and you announce that UFC 300 main event. Like I think that was part of it too. It's like, I can't be excited about this right now because Volkanovski just got slaughtered. And you're dropping the 300 main event on us that we've been waiting for months. And it's Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill, two guys that have been in the UFC, are very active usually. Like Jamahal Hill was off, but he was pretty active. He's coming off an injury. Like he's not like a legend. Like Alex Pereira is the UFC legend right now. But that's the fight. Like that's just my take on it. And last thing I'll say about the Dana White diss video. No MMA guru. What is up with that? Very, very weird. Like MMA guru, I love MMA guru's stuff. And it's funny because he's been in like UFC Countdown. And he was one of the biggest guys like barking about how UFC 300 is not going to be very good and like really pissed about the Kayla Harrison Holly Holm fight. Really pissed about Marina Rodriguez. Just so pissed. He's the biggest MMA YouTuber right now. But he wasn't in the video? Like, what is up with that? Maybe Dana was, like, trying to save him from being on the diss video or what? Or didn't want to give him attention or something like that. But that was weird. Like, if you're going to make a diss video, you would probably want to put the biggest MMA YouTuber up there. But no. He chose guys like Brendan Schaub and Ariel Helwani, who he has beef with. So I just thought that was funny and had to touch on that. Let's get into the Q&A. So these are all questions coming from the IG story. We'll start it off, scroll all the way to the bottom. Ilya versus Max. What do you think? I'm guessing you mean, what do I think as far as a winner goes? Let me break this down. I would pick Ilia Topuria to beat Max Holloway. But I think Max Holloway has a very good chance, almost the perfect style, to beat Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria is undefeated. Nobody's beaten him. Just knocked out, in my opinion, the featherweight GOAT, Alexander Volkanovski. But styles make fights. Just because Max lost to Volk 3 times and Ilia just knocked out Volk doesn't mean Max Holloway automatically loses to Ilia Topuria. MMA math don't work. My thoughts on this fight is Max, you can't go into the fight thinking you're going to knock out Max Holloway because it's never been done. And you can't go into the fight thinking Max Holloway isn't as good as Alexander Volkanovski because you knocked out Volk. You just can't do that. So how does Ilia Topuria go into this fight? I think he's got to have in his back pocket, or at least the back of his mind, I have to grapple this guy. If he doesn't do that, there's a real chance that Max Holloway goes in there and does what he does. Stays to the outside, uses his volume, uses his movement, because he brings different challenges to a fight than Volkanovski does. I think Max is a little bit faster, mixes his weapons, not more, but in a different aspect. Like Volk is very leg kick heavy. He's very combinations as far as throws a leg kick, 1-2, and he's out. Max Holloway is a guy that's going to stand there, uses his movement pretty well, stays to the outside, gets off to the side, rips body, head, but it's very different. I think if Ilia goes into the fight against Max, think he's going to knock him out and doesn't, he's in a world of trouble. Because you're not going to out-volume Max, and you can try to take him down, you can try to use your ground game there, but we haven't seen a lot of people really have success with it. Now, the reason I would still take Topuria is I think his boxing can match the level of Max's. I think Ilia Topuria is the best boxer in the UFC. I'll just say that. Why? Because his combinations are just vicious. And if he can unload some of those combinations early in the fight against Max, Max might not want to stay in there and be in the pocket with him. And then he's forced to stay to the outside more, and that's not really his game. And Topuria has the ability to take him down and do some dirty things to him on the ground. I'll just keep it that. Just keep it a buck. I think Ilia Topuria would beat Max Holloway, but I would love to see it happen and to see how it plays out, because I think that's just a great matchup. I would still take Ilia Topuria to win, though. Let's get into some more. What do you think a worthy co-main event for the UFC 303 card would be? So we're assuming Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler is the main event. If I'm being honest, you don't really need anything else to sell a Conor McGregor fight. And it seems like in the past, we've had a lot of Conor McGregor main events where the rest of the main card really ain't that good. It's a weird thing to put out there, because Conor McGregor is going to bring a bunch of pay-per-view sales. Does the UFC want to throw a champion on there or not? Because they're going to have to pay the champion the pay-per-view points. And I don't know if they want to just give some random champion that luxury, you know? Like, what's a good co-main event for a 303 card? I think you'd have to look somewhere where it's not a championship fight. I mean, we're in Vegas. You might want to look at, I was going to say like Leon versus Bilal, just because it's a championship fight that not a lot of people would get excited for, but it'd be on the Conor card, so it could get some exposure. But I don't know if they're going to do Leon that way, where they're like, we're going to give you all these pay-per-view points because Conor McGregor's on the card. Middleweight, I guess, no, they got to save Izzy versus DDP for that. Light heavyweight, probably not. Maybe you could stick a Pereira versus Ankalaev there. Maybe. Because Pereira probably don't want to wait too long. And that would be a huge co-main event. But I don't know if they want to waste that on a co-main. They probably want to keep Pereira as a main event. Heavyweight, you really can't do anything unless it's a Tom Aspinall interim belt defense. I just don't see that happening. Maybe you put like a Cyril Gane versus Pavlovich or something like that on there, some type of heavyweight co-main event. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, in all that reality, they'll probably put something on there that's just not as exciting because it's a Conor McGregor main event and they don't really care. Aldo's return, the odds are almost at a pick 'em. So we're talking about Jose Aldo versus Jonathan Martinez, which is coming up in a couple weeks. I saw that line too, and it's damn near a pick 'em. I think Jonathan Martinez might be a slight favorite right now. I think it's kind of valid. Like, Aldo is older, and Jonathan Martinez is a damn good fighter. It is 3 rounds, I believe. Yeah, 3 rounds. I think Jonathan Martinez probably wins. Like, I don't know that Aldo at 37 coming back from retirement is going to look like the Aldo like from 4 or 5 years ago. Now, the Aldo 3 years ago is still really good. But he's taking on a guy in Jonathan Martinez who's really tough to hit, specifically to the head. He's going to chop a lot of leg kicks. I think Jonathan Martinez probably wins. So I'll take him for the question answered here. Who do you got, Izzy or Dricus? Bro, I'm on the Dricus train. I'm not jumping off until he loses. I think Dricus beats Izzy. The only worry is that Izzy does very well countering guys that get a little over-aggressive, and that is Dricus' game. Does that scare me off enough? No, because I think Dricus is so damn tough. He showed he can go 5 rounds. That pace against Strickland, that 5-round pace against Strickland was insane to watch. He went 5 rounds hard, got hit a lot, but he also landed a lot. He mixed up his game with the takedowns. And I think Dricus is a tough fight for anybody. I think he's a tough fight for Izzy. I thought he was a tough fight for Strickland just because of the forward pressure. Strickland doesn't really like fighting off his back foot. And just the fact that Dricus beat Whitaker in that fashion gives me the confidence to say that he could do a similar type of thing to Izzy. Because Izzy and Whitaker do kind of fight similarly. They're counter strikers. They're very light on their feet. They're going to pick their shots. And Dricus is just a bulldozer going downhill on full blast. I think that's a tough fight for anybody. I think Dricus does find a W against Izzy. Still pissed that that's a fight, though. Like, what is Izzy doing getting a title shot coming off a loss? It's just so dumb. I hate that stuff. But it is what it is, and that's the fight that'll probably happen. And that's the UFC, baby. You know, don't really matter. We make fights for the views, basically, you know. But, you know, that's what the promotion does. It's a promotion. They got to make money. They got to put on the best fights. That's probably the best fight to make. Estimated spread for Islam versus Dustin. I think Islam's minus 500 or so, somewhere around there. And I hate to make guys out to where they're like untouchable. Islam's on the level that it seems like he's untouchable. But at the end of the day, that one loss on his record is a knockout loss. And it was a very nice counter shot that Adriano Martins put on Islam Makhachev. And if Islam Makhachev's on the feet against Dustin Poirier, he is in danger. I don't think he's going to be outclassed on the feet. I think Islam's a very, very good striker, very underrated striker. But Poirier showed in his last fight, he can get taken down. He can get controlled. And I think Islam's probably going to take that path and most likely gets a win. I think Islam probably wins, but there's a good chance that Dustin Poirier can find something. But I don't see it happening. I got to go with Islam. Favorite fighter in each division, past or present? Let's just do present. Favorite fighter in each division. It's going to sound very terrible because I'm probably going to list a lot of champions. But number 1, Alexandre Pantoja in the flyweight division because Pantoja is just a dog and he comes out to many men. I cannot go against the many men parlay. Pantoja's the guy. He comes out to many men. He's going to be my guy for the featherweight division. Bantamweight, I want to go Sean O'Malley because he's made me some good coin. Seems like a pretty popular pick. I'll just go with Sean. Sean's my favorite bantamweight Featherweight. I'm not going to go Topuria, although I do love Topuria. Favorite featherweight right now, I think I got to go Diego Lopez. He's my favorite featherweight right now. He's the most fun featherweight to watch right now. Diego Lopez for featherweight. Lightweight, our boy Renato Moicano. Lightweight. Favorite fighter in the lightweight division, Renato Moicano. Welterweight, I mean, I've always loved Leon Edwards, but I don't know if he's my favorite welterweight. Not Ian Gary. Sorry, Ian Gary. Maybe Shavkat, just because he finishes every fight. He finishes every single fight. You love a good finisher, I'd probably go Shavkat. Middleweight, Dricus, because Dricus has been my boy for a long time. And he proved all the doubters wrong when he beat Robert Whittaker, and I was on Dricus. Dricus is my favorite middleweight. Light heavyweight, got to be Pereira. Dude's just an absolute stud. And then heavyweight, Tom Aspinall, 100%. The guy is just a complete stud. If we got Tom Aspinall versus John Jones, my life would be complete. I would love to see John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, and I would love to see Tom Aspinall win that fight. What do I think about Boers versus Whittaker? We talked about this one before, and initially I said Robert Whittaker just because of the experience that he has and the ability to deal with the wrestling of Khamzat. Like, Khamzat dominated Usman in round one, but like, if you can survive round one against Khamzat, then what? Like, then what can you do? And I would expect Robert Whittaker could do good work after that first round against Khamzat. So I'm saying Khamzat, but I'm saying Robert Whittaker as far as like who would win. I think Robert Whittaker, but there's part of me that thinks Khamzat could just get him out of there in the first and make it look easy. Because Usman is as tough as anybody on the ground. And Usman was having trouble surviving against Khamzat. He did survive, but he was having trouble. And if Khamzat gets Whittaker down and puts him in some really tough spots, that might just be wraps. Bo Nickel versus Khamzat, who wins? I think Khamzat absolutely destroys Bo Nickel right now. I don't think there's a question about it. Right now, Khamzat has the best wrestling, or the best MMA wrestling right now. I don't think Bo Nickel's wrestling has really translated 100% to MMA wrestling yet. It could in 4 or 5 fights from now. He could be that dominant of a wrestler. But I think right now, Khamzat absolutely rolls Bo Nickel. On the feet, it's not even a question. And on the ground, I think Khamzat's MMA wrestling is levels above a Bo Nickel wrestling right now. I don't think it's a question. I think Khamzat just destroys him. And a big factor in judging like Khamzat fights, like if he's going up against an opponent that has a lot of experience, then you can kind of tap into that. Bo Nickel doesn't have that experience. He doesn't have that MMA experience of like, all right, it's the third round. We've been going back and forth, and this guy's tiring out. I'm gonna start takeover. I've been doing this before. This is where I thrive. Bo Nickel doesn't have that experience. That's why I say Khamzat absolutely rolls him. Thoughts on the Rockhold KO over Joe Schilling? I saw that. Good for Luke Rockhold. I love the karate combat stuff. That one was in Abu Dhabi, I believe. I went to the one in Vegas, the first one in Vegas last December. Super sick. I wanted to go to the one in Florida here, but I was busy that day. I couldn't make it. They're getting some good names. Like Luke Rockhold, big name, and he got a dub. So that was impressive. I would love to see him back in there in karate combat. Like, I think that's a great promotion and a great idea for guys that love to strike. Like, if you're talking about MMA guys, that love to strike, but maybe they're not the best boxers. Like, they can't go to BKFC or they can't go to boxing. Like, karate combat's the place to go. Like, you can strike with everything. You can use knees. You can use kicks. You can use your hands. And if it goes to the ground, they have to punch you. Otherwise, they're getting right back up to the feet. So I think karate combat's sick. I think it's a great option for a lot of guys as well. He called out Lyoto. How do you think that goes? Lyoto Machida and Luke Rockhold. I think that would be a sick fight to make for karate combat. I don't know. I mean, I might favor Luke Rockhold just because he's like been a little bit more active. He's super athletic. He's a tough guy to deal with. He's long. He's powerful. He has amazing kicks. And Lyoto's obviously great at all those as well. But I'd go with Luke Rockhold. That'd be a sick matchup to make, though. Hopefully, Karate Combat does make that. That'd be sick. All right, fellas. I think we're going to hop out of here. Obviously, not a long show tonight because there wasn't a UFC card. But we got a UFC card next week. We're back at the Apex, UFC Vegas 91. I'll be doing my full card breakdown on the Double Leg YouTube channel. Check that out. And then we'll be back here next Sunday for Sunday Service episode 9. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. And moving forward on the Hayjivepicks YouTube channel, might be putting out some more content. So stay tuned. Hit the subscription button for me and run up the legs for me. Appreciate y'all. Till next time, Hayjivepicks here on the Sunday Service. We out.